the patrol car's headlights cut across the dirt like a blade, stopping abruptly at the edge of the ravine. Red and blue lights washed over the trees, turning branches into skeletal arms reaching toward the road. An officer stepped out, boot crunching on gravel, hand already hovering near his holster. Below him, half hidden by brush and shadow, lay a woman's body. One shoe was missing. Her phone lay several feet away, screen shattered, as if it had been thrown, or dropped in a desperate moment. The call had come in less than an hour earlier. A jogger. Early 30s. Breathless, shaking, insisting there was something wrong down by the old service road. Dispatch hadn't known what to make of it until the first unit arrived and saw the outline of a person where no one should be. By the time the coroner was notified, the area was sealed off, yellow tape fluttering in the cold night air like a warning no one could ignore. Her name was Emily Carter. 26 years old. Graduate student. New to the city. And by sunrise, the question echoing through the precinct wasn't how she died. It was why she had been there at all. Emily hadn't planned to be anywhere near that ravine. Earlier that evening, she had been at her apartment, scrolling through messages, half watching a crime documentary she never finished. She had moved to the city less than 6 months earlier for school, drawn by opportunity and independence. Friends back home said she sounded happy on the phone. Focused. Careful. Not reckless. Which made the timeline investigators began piecing together so unsettling. At 7:42 p.m., Emily texted her roommate saying she was heading out for just a bit. No details. No destination. At 8:11 p.m., security cameras in her building captured her leaving alone, jacket zipped, hair pulled back, phone in her hand. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look rushed. At 8:57 p.m., her debit card was used at a small convenience store just off the highway. The clerk remembered her clearly. She asked for directions, he said. Seemed normal. Polite. That was the last confirmed sighting of Emily Carter alive. Detective Laura Bennett stood at the edge of the ravine the next morning, hands buried in her coat pockets, eyes scanning the uneven ground. She had seen enough scenes like this to know when something didn't fit. There were no signs of a struggle where the body had been found. No drag marks. No broken branches leading down the slope. Which meant Emily hadn't fallen. She didn't come down here on her own, Bennett said quietly, more to herself than to the uniformed officer beside her. Someone brought her here. The medical examiner's preliminary report confirmed what Bennett already suspected. Time of death, between 9:30 and 10:30 p.m. Cause, blunt force trauma. No evidence of robbery. Her wallet was still in her bag. Her jewelry untouched. This wasn't random. And it wasn't impulsive. Back at the precinct, detectives began working backward, combing through Emily's phone records, emails, and social media. Her life, laid bare on screens and printouts. Friends. Classmates. Professors. A few dating apps she barely used. Nothing immediately alarming. Until they found the message thread marked with a single initial, M. The last exchange was from 7:18 p.m. Just one drink, Emily had written. I'll be back soon. The response came seconds later. Promise. No last name. No photo attached. Just a phone number registered to a prepaid account. Detective Bennett leaned back in her chair, staring at the screen. One drink. One night. One person she clearly trusted enough to leave her apartment for. And no one knew who he was. The investigation gained momentum quickly. News vans lined the street outside Emily's building. Her photo appeared on every local broadcast, bright smile, hopeful eyes, a face that made people stop and pay attention. Vigils formed. Social media filled with speculation and grief in equal measure. Behind the scenes, detectives chased every lead they could find. The convenience store footage showed Emily alone, but another camera down the road captured a vehicle pulling out shortly after she did. A dark sedan. No plates visible. Cell tower pings placed Emily's phone moving west after the store, toward an area she had never been before. Toward the ravine. "Who takes someone there?" an officer asked during a briefing. "Someone who doesn't want to be seen," Bennett replied. They tracked the prepaid phone to a purchase made 2 weeks earlier at a big box store. Cash transaction. No surveillance footage retained. It was as anonymous as money could buy. But the messages told a different story. Whoever M was, he knew how to sound trustworthy. Familiar. Almost intimate. The tone shifted subtly over time, from polite conversation to gentle insistence. Suggesting places. Choosing times. Always framing it as casual. Safe. Temporary. Just one night. Bennett had seen this pattern before. The slow construction of comfort. The illusion of control. Then came the break no one expected. A technician reviewing deleted data from Emily's phone recovered a partial voice memo, accidentally recorded and never saved. The audio was distorted, clipped, but unmistakable. Emily's voice, tense now, no longer relaxed. "This isn't where you said we were going," she said. A man responded, his voice calm, almost reassuring. "Relax. We're almost there." The recording ended abruptly. The room fell silent when the clip finished playing. "That's him," Bennett said. "That's our last conversation." And for the first time since the call came in, the case felt terrifyingly close, and far more dangerous than anyone had realized. As detectives prepared to release a public request for information, another officer rushed into the room, holding a thin evidence folder. His expression said everything before he spoke. "They found something else at the scene," he said. "Something we missed last night." Bennett took the folder, flipping it open. Inside was a photograph of a small, folded piece of paper recovered from beneath a rock near the body. Water-stained. Dirt-smudged. But legible. A handwritten address. And beneath it, a single sentence. "If anything happens to me, this is where he lives." Bennett looked up slowly, heart pounding. Because the address wasn't unfamiliar. It belonged to someone already connected to the case. And when they ran the name tied to it, the room went very, very quiet. The house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac like it had something to hide. Detective Laura Bennett watched from inside the unmarked car as uniformed officers moved quietly into position. No sirens. No lights. Just the low hum of engines and the soft crackle of radios. The address from the note, Emily's last, desperate warning, had led them here. A modest 2-story home in a quiet neighborhood where porch lights usually stayed on and neighbors waved in the mornings. This one was dark. "Owner's name is Marcus Hale," an officer whispered over the radio. 34. No priors. Works in IT security. Lives alone. Bennett's jaw tightened. IT security. Someone who understood systems. Data. How to erase footprints. "How long since we last pinged his phone?" she asked. 8 hours, came the reply. Went dark shortly after midnight. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a head start. They knocked anyway. Loud. Firm. Announcing themselves. The sound echoed down the empty street. No answer. A neighbor across the road peeked through their blinds, then quickly pulled them shut. Someone else's porch light flicked on, then off again. The neighborhood was waking up to the reality that something was wrong, and that it was happening closer than they wanted to admit. With a warrant in hand, officers forced entry. The house was immaculate. Too immaculate. No dishes in the sink. No clutter. No personal photos on the walls. It looked staged, like a rental someone never quite moved into. Bennett moved slowly through the rooms, eyes scanning for anything out of place. In the kitchen, the trash can was empty, new liner, no residue. In the bathroom, the sink was dry, spotless. In the bedroom, the bed was made with military precision. "Where's the mess?" an officer muttered. "Nobody lives like this." Bennett stopped in front of a closed door at the end of the hallway. The basement. She opened it. The stairs descended into darkness. When the lights flicked on, the air felt colder, heavier. Concrete walls. A workbench. Shelving units lined with neatly labeled boxes. Ethernet cables. External hard drives. Old phones. Laptops. Digital life preserved. Cataloged. Jesus, someone whispered. This wasn't just a home. It was a workspace. Forensics moved in quickly, photographing everything, bagging devices. Bennett stood near the workbench, staring at a laptop left open. The screen showed lines of code and a GPS mapping interface. She leaned closer. Recent location history. A path traced from Emily's apartment to the convenience store, then west, then. Her stomach dropped. The ravine. He had mapped it. Studied it. Chosen it. Bag that laptop, Bennett said. And get cybercrime on the line. Now. As the search continued, another officer called out from the far end of the basement. Detective. You need to see this. Behind a shelving unit was a door. Smaller. Almost hidden. Inside was a room barely larger than a walk-in closet. No windows. No furniture. Just a single chair bolted to the floor and a hook mounted on the wall above it. No blood. No restraints. Nothing overtly violent. But the absence was louder than anything else. This wasn't used tonight, Bennett said quietly. But it was meant to be. The realization sent a chill through the room. Emily hadn't been the first to trust him. By the time dawn broke, Marcus Hale was officially a suspect, and officially missing. His bank accounts had been drained in small increments. His passport was gone. His car had been reported stolen from the driveway, but traffic cameras told a different story. The vehicle had left the neighborhood hours before the 911 call came in. He knew when her phone stopped moving, Bennett said during the briefing. He knew exactly how long he had. They ran his name through national databases. Employment records. Travel history. Dating platforms. That's when the pattern emerged. Marcus Hale had moved cities 5 times in 7 years. Each move followed the same timeline. Short-term jobs. Minimal social footprint. Dating profiles created and deleted within weeks. And in 3 of those cities, there were unsolved cases. Young women. Similar age. Similar circumstances. Last seen meeting someone new. Disappearances written off as runaways or accidents. No bodies. No arrests. Until now. Emily's death wasn't an anomaly. It was a mistake. The media coverage intensified. Headlines shifted from tragedy to threat. Police search for man linked to multiple disappearances. Was Emily Carter the first, or the one who got away? Tips flooded in. Sightings. Theories. False confessions. Bennett barely slept, surviving on bad coffee and worse instincts. Every hour Marcus remained free felt like borrowed time, for someone else. Then, late on the second night, cybercrime called. We cracked one of his encrypted drives, the analyst said. There's something you need to hear. They gathered around the monitor as an audio file began to play. A woman's voice. Not Emily's. I did what you said, the woman whispered. Please, just let me go. Then Marcus's voice, calm, measured, almost gentle. You can, he replied. After tonight. The file cut out. No date. No location. But the metadata placed the recording less than 6 months ago. Bennett felt the room spin. He's escalating, she said. And he's not done. Hours later, a patrol unit in a neighboring state reported a dark sedan abandoned near a bus station. Inside the car, a burner phone, wiped clean. A receipt from a motel 2 miles away. Time stamped that morning. Bennett was already moving. Lock it down, she ordered. If he's there, he's cornered. Or so they thought. The motel room was empty when they breached it. The bed untouched. The bathroom dry. But on the nightstand sat a single object. A phone. Powered on. Waiting. The screen lit up as Bennett picked it up. A message appeared. You're getting closer. Then another. But you still don't know why. Before anyone could react, the phone buzzed again, this time with a location pin. Live. Bennett looked up, pulse racing. He wants us to follow, she said. And if we don't, an officer asked. She didn't hesitate. Then someone else disappears. As the team rushed back into motion, none of them noticed the small detail on the motel receipt, one line item that didn't belong. 2 guests. Only one had checked out. And somewhere nearby, Marcus Hale was already preparing for another night, confident, calm, and convinced he was still in control. The location pin pulsed on the screen like a heartbeat. An abandoned industrial corridor on the edge of the city, warehouses, freight yards, dead-end roads that hadn't seen traffic in years. Detective Laura Bennett stared at the map as the convoy moved, tires hissing over wet asphalt. The sky was still dark, the hours suspended between night and morning, when mistakes happened and people vanished. He chose this, Bennett said quietly. Wide open. No witnesses. Plenty of exits. Or a trap, an officer replied. Bennett didn't disagree. They split 2 blocks out, cutting engines and rolling the last stretch on momentum. The building ahead loomed like a carcass, windows blown out, steel doors rusted, a sign hanging crooked by one bolt. No lights. No movement. The kind of place that looked empty until it wasn't. Bennett raised a hand. The team froze. A faint glow flickered inside. They breached from 2 sides. Flashlights carved paths through dust and darkness. The air smelled of oil and damp concrete. Somewhere deeper in the building, a phone chimed, soft, deliberate. The sound carried, guiding them like a breadcrumb trail. They followed it into a wide bay littered with pallets and broken machinery. In the center sat a folding table. On it, a phone, face up, screen alive. Don't touch it, Bennett said. Too late. The screen changed. A live video feed snapped on, shaky for a moment before stabilizing. A woman filled the frame. Early 20s. Eyes wide, jaw clenched, hands bound in front of her, not tight enough to cut skin, just enough to remind her she wasn't free. A motel room behind her. Beige walls. A curtain pulled closed. Bennett felt the floor tilt. This is Detective Bennett, she said, leaning toward the phone. If you can hear me, you're not alone. The woman swallowed. He said you'd come, she whispered. He said you'd be too late. A voice entered the feed, calm, precise, familiar. Laura, Marcus Hale said. You found the room. That's progress. The camera angle shifted. Marcus stepped into view, close enough that Bennett could see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes. He looked ordinary. Clean. Controlled. The kind of face that disappeared into crowds. You killed Emily, Bennett said. Marcus smiled, not wide, not cruel. Just enough. Emily changed the rules. By trusting you? No, he said. By leaving evidence. Bennett's fingers curled into a fist. This ends now. Let her go. Marcus tilted his head, considering. You think this is about her? The feed cut to black. Track it, Bennett snapped. Signals bouncing, cybercrime replied over the radio. He's moving it. Routing through relays. Bennett's mind raced. The receipt. 2 guests. The audio file. Marcus didn't improvise, he staged. Which meant the warehouse was never the destination. It was a test. A delay. He's close, Bennett said. He wants us chasing our shadow. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text, from an unknown number. One last choice. A second message followed. Emily tried to save someone. Will you? Then a pin dropped, different from the first. Residential. Familiar. Bennett's breath caught. It was Emily's apartment building. They drove hard. As they approached, blue lights splashed across brick and glass. Officers spilled out, flooding the entrance. Bennett took the stairs two at a time, pulse roaring in her ears. The hallway on Emily's floor was quiet, too quiet. One door stood ajar. Inside, the lights were on. The woman from the video sat on the couch, wrists free now, hands shaking. She looked up as Bennett entered, tears spilling over. He said to wait, she sobbed. He said you'd come. Are you hurt? Bennett asked. She shook her head. He left. 5 minutes ago. Bennett scanned the room. Everything was wrong. The furniture had been moved. The walls bare. Emily's life erased. On the coffee table lay a manila envelope. Inside, photos. Polaroids, yellowed at the edges. Different women. Different cities. The same framing every time, first dates, smiling faces, a hand just out of frame. The last photo in each set was the same, a location. The ravine was only one of many. He didn't start with Emily, Bennett said. He practiced. A final item slid from the envelope and landed at her feet. A key. They found him at dawn. Marcus Hale stood on the pedestrian bridge overlooking the river, coat pulled tight, watching the water churn below. He didn't run when Bennett approached. He didn't turn. You should have burned the photos, Bennett said. I thought about it, he replied. But then you wouldn't understand. She stepped closer. Understand what? That control is an illusion, Marcus said. You think you catch people like me because you're faster or smarter. You don't. You catch us because we choose when the game ends. Bennett raised her weapon. Hands where I can see them. He complied. Slowly. Almost reverently. Emily figured it out, he said. She knew I'd done this before. She tried to warn you. Bennett's voice hardened. She paid for that. Marcus closed his eyes. She changed the ending. When he opened them again, there was something like relief there. The trial lasted 6 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. The digital trail. The recordings. The women who testified, shaken, alive, furious. Marcus Hale was convicted on multiple counts, sentenced to life without parole. Emily Carter's name became the one people remembered. The one who left a note. The one who broke the pattern. But cases don't really end. They settle. 3 months later, Bennett stood alone in the evidence room, staring at the photos one last time before they were archived. She thought of the women whose faces stared back at her. Of the nights they trusted the wrong person. Of the cost of a single decision. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Body discovered near state line, circumstances under review. Bennett frowned. Opened the article. The details were thin. No suspect. No witnesses. But the location photo stopped her cold. A ravine. Different state. Same curve of land. Same shadows. Bennett exhaled slowly, the weight of it settling in her chest. Because Marcus Hale was behind bars. And someone, somewhere, had learned his methods. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Subscribe now, because the truth doesn't stop when the credits roll.